So basically what we do is we do these things called truth tables. They can be very long at times, but essentially what we do is we figure out that if you take a statement and you have a statement like A is true, and then you add a tilde and you put not A. Well, if A is true, then not A would be false. And so we create a series of tables in which we start off with saying something like A is true. Then we know that if there was a tilde, it would be not true. And then we know that if there's A is false, then we know not A would be true. Because if something's false and it's not this false statement, then we know it's a true statement. We know the negation of a true statement or the negation of a false statement changes its truth value. We also find things like if you say something like A and B, if A is true and B is false, it's not a true statement because both have to be true. Both conjuncts have to be true in order for it to be a true statement. And so what we do is we have a series of 5 little charts, and you should try to memorize these. If I were teaching this in a classroom, once again, I would give a quiz in which you had to give me these truth tables very quickly, and you'd have to write down true, true, false, false. And you'd have to do that very quickly. And what we would do is with that is we would then use that to we would use that information in order to determine truth values later on. So we can do that with basically basic sentences like A, it can be true or false, and if you have 2 symbols like A and B, in order to look at every possible combination, you would need 4 lines in order to do it. And we would then, every time you add it, you basically you multiply by 2 every time you do it. So if you have 2 different symbols, you do 2 times 2. 3 different symbols, 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. And if there's 4, it's 16. And you do a number of lines. And you can actually find the truth value of any statement by looking at every possible truth value it has and then finding its truth function is what we call it. And we can find certain things, like some statements we can classify them. Some of them are always going to be true. We call that tautologous. And sometimes they're always going to be false, and we call them self-contradictory. And sometimes they're true and sometimes they're not, and we just call that contingent. And so we basically begin to use these truth tables to look at statements and determine the truth value of a statement.